Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blueworks Live February 2016 release preview session. I'm Margaret Thorpe, Blueworks Live Product Manager, and today I'm going to be giving you an overview of the Blueworks Live release that's coming out this coming weekend. We have a number of new features that I'd like to talk about today. First of all, we're rolling out a new help system with new help content, and this new help system is both searchable and more integrated with the product. We've also doubled the number of custom properties that are available for customizing your account. And we've added a few other glossary enhancements. One that will reduce the number of duplicate values added to the glossary, another that will give you more control over the visibility of glossary terms, another that will allow you to enter glossary terms directly into the glossary, and another that will allow you to document the structure of inputs and outputs for those that want to capture richer descriptions of their data. There are also a couple of enhancements intended to make it easier when you're documenting activities that have lots of inputs and outputs. You'll be able to automatically populate an activity's inputs from the prior activity's outputs, and you'll be able to navigate directly to the glossary term if you need to edit it while working in the Process Details panel. There are also a couple of support-related enhancements this month. You'll find information about upcoming maintenance in the Client Success Portal, and Blueworks Live is now supported on IE 11. Now for anybody that's still using IE 8, please be aware that we'll be dropping support for IE 8 in June 2016. So that's the summary of the upcoming changes. Let's take a closer look at each of these enhancements. Let's take a look at the new help system first. Now when you click on the help link in the upper left-hand corner of Blueworks Live, you'll be taken to the new help system, which looks just like this. So the new help content is organized into several sections here. You can see this in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So the Getting Started section will take you to a 30 to 40 minute tutorial that'll teach you how to create process blueprints, work with discovery maps, work with process diagrams, capture process details, and play back a process. The Document section is a place where you can get help on blueprinting processes, modeling decisions, documenting policies, building a business glossary, and working with snapshots and revision history. The Share section is where you'll find info on using spaces, collaborating across teams, using workflow and checklist apps, as well as exporting and printing information about your artifacts. The Administer section provides info for admins to help you manage users, customize your Blueworks Live account, leverage security settings, and monitor file storage. The Personalized section has info about setting notification and user preferences, how to follow artifacts, how to pin your start page, and things like this. Now, one thing that's important to note, this platform where the help system is hosted doesn't support older versions of Internet Explorer browser. So if you're using IE 8 or IE 9, you will not be able to see the new help system, but instead will be taken to the old one. Now the new help system has a search feature, so you can look for help on specific topics. So for example, here I'm looking for information on governance, and Blueworks Live returns a number of help entries to me where governance is discussed. I can click on any of these and I'll be taken to the topic. You'll also start to see some integrated links to the new help system in this release of Blueworks Live. Here, for example, on the Users tab for a space, there's a link, Learn More About Space Permissions. Now, if you click on that link, you'll be taken to the related help topic in the help system. So that's the new help system. Now let's talk about custom properties. As most of you know, each account has a set of custom properties that can be used to extend the Process Details panel with information that's important to your organization. So as you can see in this example, the custom properties that I've defined for this account, status, department name, and KPIs, can be entered at the bottom of the Process Details panel for each activity. In this release, we've doubled the number of custom properties available, so now admins will be able to add up to 10 custom text properties and 10 custom number properties. There are a number of other glossary enhancements that I'd like to talk about now. First off, we're making a change that should reduce the number of duplicate values in your glossaries. A number of admins have complained to us about the amount of effort it takes for them to keep the glossary cleaned up, and duplicate values is a big part of that. This enhancement should help with that a bit. Up till now, Blueworks Live interprets differences in case in glossary term names as different values. So in this example, I have what is clearly the same term, completed I-9 form, but it shows up as two distinct terms, one with a capital F and one with a small f. Now, I don't really want two values like this. I only want one. I want the value with the capital F. So from now on, Blueworks Live won't interpret these as different values. It will autocorrect an entered value to be consistent with the case of the already existing value. So here in this example, if I try and enter completed I-9 form with a small f, Blueworks Live will change it so that it uses the already existing term completed I-9 form with the capital F. Now, if you already have these kinds of duplicates in your glossary and you'd like to remove them, clean them up, you'll need to merge them to begin with, keeping the one with the correct case. And if you find yourself needing or wanting to change the case of a term, it's very simple. You just go into the glossary and rename the value correctly. That way, every place the term is used, the case will display in the way that you want it to. So this should help cut down on duplicate values in your glossary. Now, another new thing that you'll see in Blueworks Live next week, in the glossary, is that now you're able to directly enter inputs and outputs. You don't have to do it while editing a blueprint or a decision. You can still do it when you're adding properties to your blueprints in the process details panel, but you can also do it directly in the glossary now. And so the way this works is you click on the plus new input output button out here to the right of the input output section in the glossary, and you add your terms right here. So this is handy if you need to add several new inputs or outputs at a time, or if you're wanting to pre-populate preferred terms for your inputs and outputs before any blueprints or decisions start using them. We will be extending this feature to the rest of the glossary properties to make it easier for you to pre-populate preferred values for things like systems and participants as well, but we weren't able to get that in time for the release, so for now it's limited to inputs and outputs. You'll see another change to the glossary next week when you log in. So there will no longer be this checkbox called Preferred for designating preferred values. Instead, you'll see this column titled Visibility with 3 visibility settings: Only visible when used, Always visible, and Always visible and preferred. Now today in Blueworks Live, if a non-preferred term gets created but is no longer being used by any artifacts, it will disappear from the glossary. But with these new settings, you've got more control over how this works. You can set the visibility to only visible when used. So in this case, the term won't appear in the glossary when it is not used by a blueprint or a decision, nor will it be displayed as a type ahead suggestion in field drop-down menus like the one on the Process Details panel. When glossary terms are added by entering them into the Process Details panel, they have this setting, this visibility setting by default. Now when you set a term to always visible, it will always show up in the glossary, even when it's not being used, and it will always be listed as a type ahead suggestion in the property field on the Process Details panel. When you enter a glossary term directly into the glossary, rather than from the Process Details panel, this will be the default visibility setting. Now if you choose the third setting, Always Visible and Preferred, it will always show up in the glossary, the term, and it will be listed at the top of the type ahead suggestions in the field drop-down menus for properties. So these are the new visibility settings. And the last glossary enhancement that I'd like to talk about is for users that want to be able to capture richer descriptions of their data. So you can now capture the structure of inputs and outputs if you need to. As you see here, you can enter a type for inputs and outputs, which can either be text or decimal, Boolean, integer, or date. And you can also enter custom or complex types. Let's take a quick look at how that works. If you want to create a custom type, for example, when you click on the type field, you'll be able to select an existing glossary term from the glossary. As you could see here on the left-hand side of the slide, I'm creating this new term, employee address. And I basically want to say that an employee address is an address. And to do that, I can select address, as you see here at the right below the filter bar. So I can select address, which basically will say that employee address is an address, and that's done. Now if you want to create a complex type, a term that contains other terms, you simply click on the contents field and you can select the terms that you want this glossary term to contain. So in the example on the right side of the slide, I'm creating a new term, employee, which contains a number of other terms, which I'm in the process of selecting in the screenshot. Employee address, employee name, and employee number. So basically I can add as many of these terms as I want to the employee term that I'm creating. And basically that says that, employee is this new term that consists of an employee address, an employee name, an employee number. So those are some ways to add richer descriptions of your data. And basically what the glossary looks like after you've created these types of entries is this. So you can see custom type is in the type list along with any other types you've selected for your terms. And in cases where you've created some kind of more complex type, you'll see the list of those terms in the contents field. So that is the new that's all the glossary enhancements that we have in this release. Now let's take a look at a couple of productivity enhancements that we've added, primarily for editors that are working with lots of inputs and outputs in their blueprints. So if you have a bunch of outputs from the previous activity that you'd like to document as inputs to the current activity, you can do this with a single click now. So as you see here on the Process Details panel, there's a new option to add outputs from previous activity. In the example blueprint over here on the right, the previous activity to this one that I'm entering was the accept offer activity, whose outputs you can see to the right here. Now if I click on the add outputs from previous activity, as I'm editing this current activity, the input employee information into database activity, then what I'll see is all of those outputs from accept offer will automatically get added as inputs to the current activity, input employee information into database. And you can see here on the bottom what that looks like. All those inputs have been automatically entered for you. So pretty straightforward. The other thing I wanted to point out, you'll also see a new icon in the inputs and output section of the Process Details panel. So if you look over here to the right, there's this pencil-like icon. If you click on that icon, it will take you directly to the input or output in the glossary, and you can edit it there directly. So this is useful if you're adding a lot of new inputs and outputs to your blueprint and you want to, say, add descriptions or change visibility settings or define types as you're adding them. This just positions you exactly at the point in the glossary where that term is. So you just and you can just start editing it without having to click on anything or find anything. So those are the glossary enhancements and productivity enhancements that you'll see in this release. And we've got a couple of other things I wanted to mention. some support enhancements. And the first one is there's a new support portal alert feature that basically it's a new section on our the Blueworks Live Help portal, that the support portal, where you'll see a new section for alerts and notifications there. So this is a place that you can go to access the latest information about upcoming maintenance schedules, local server downtime situations, or other issues that might affect Blueworks Live availability. Our operations and support teams will be posting any updates on major issues here. Therefore, they recommend that all admins bookmark the support portal link, which is in the upper right-hand corner of the slide. You can see it here. It's bwl.support.ibmcloud.com. So please bookmark this, and if you find yourself either wondering about Blueworks Live maintenance schedule, or you're having some kind of problem accessing Blueworks Live, this can be a place where you could go to obtain information. As you probably know, for folks that have been using the support portal, this is common. But if you're not familiar with our support portal and you primarily submit your support tickets through email, this is what it looks like, and you can launch a chat with our support team from within the support portal, which is really quite nice. We've gotten a lot of good feedback about this feature. And you can also open a support ticket from within the support portal. So that's the new alert notification feature. And with that, I'd like to just summarize what we've talked about today. So this is the February release once again. I showed you the new searchable help system that we're rolling out with this release with the updated Blueworks Live help content. We've seen a number of glossary enhancements, including additional custom properties, some changes that will reduce duplicate values in the glossary, increase control over the visibility of glossary terms, the ability to directly enter inputs and outputs into the glossary, and the ability to enter richer descriptions of inputs and outputs. We just saw the new alert notification feature in the Blueworks Live support portal. And there's one last thing I wanted to mention. I don't have a separate slide on this, but you may be aware that Microsoft has dropped support for all prior versions of Internet Explorer. So they won't be updating any release of IE prior to IE 9 on Windows Vista and Windows Server 2008. They won't be updating any of the versions prior to IE 10 on Windows Server 2012, and they won't be updating any of the prior versions to IE 11 on Windows 7, Windows 8, and those versions of Windows Server that can run it. So as a result, we've added support for IE 11 with this release, and we'll be dropping support for IE 8 in June 2016. And we just wanted to give everybody a heads up for those of you that are still using IE 8, so you can prepare for this. And that's all I have to share with you about the new release. I hope you find it helpful, and it will be rolling out this weekend on Saturday. So thanks a lot for listening, and now I'm going to take you out of listen mode to answer any questions that you might have.